Howdy everyone, Pocho here with an Age of Magic video, and in today's video we're doing the Hero Spotlight for Blade, the boss of the Assassin's Guild. He is finally making it to the game we've been waiting for a long time. The Assassin's Guild were a pretty decent squad when they came out. They never really shone quite brightly in the Age of Magic meta scene. However, Blade is going to make all the difference, I believe. He is an absolute beast of a character. What he offers to the Assassin's Guild is absolutely astonishing. So we'll go over his stats, his abilities, and we'll have a little play around in a battle at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that if you want to see what they're capable of. We're not going to do an in-depth battle analysis. We're just going to show the fight, and we'll do some in-depth battle analysis in some other videos. So we'll get into it. Coming in with his stats at completely maxed out, Blade sits at 21, just shy of 22 million hit points, speed 240, armor 277k, magic damage resistance 454k, basic damage is 1.9 million, critical hit chance is 53, pretty decent. Critical damage is 3.2 million. The more in-depth stats are here. Feel free to stop it and have a look at whatever you feel like you need to. The information's there. Use it how you see fit. So we'll jump over to the arena now. We'll check out this character's abilities and how he is going to support / make the Assassin's Guild stronger. Jumping into the arena, we have Blade's basic, and it's doing a lot. And you know, when a hero's basic ability is essentially a special ability, you're in for a roller coaster of a ride. So basic Shadow Blade. If the target is already on the hit list, the attack removes 40% of their initiative. Cast hit list on the target on the hit list becomes vulnerable to enemy skills regardless of restrictions. Hit list ignores fortitude when cast, removed upon target's death, or transfers to another target. If a target on the hit list dies, this skill enters a cooldown for 1 turn. Performs a melee physical attack on the target. Attack damage is increased by 50% for every debuff on Blade. So awakening this, the attack removes initiative from the target on the hit list. So that's a 40%. You're not reading this and then reading the awakening and think it increases past 40. The skill description is what it is with the awakening. So the 40% is the awakened. Damage is increased by 35%. Attack damage is increased by a higher percent for every debuff on Blade. So we'll go ahead and look at the animation here. It doesn't matter who we attack. We'll go ahead and attack Segment so we can at least see some damage. So boom, 2.4 million hit list applied. Okay, I made a mistake. It wasn't a roller coaster of a ride. It was literally just a scrubbing hit list. So you might see that a fair bit. But there we go. Initiative reduction on a basic, fairly useful. 40%, nothing to laugh at either. And potentially has the ability to do a lot of damage simply because of the amount of debuffs that the assassins can apply to themselves, so keep that in mind. Moving on to Blade's second ability, we have Threats and Blackmail. Cast hit list on one random target that is not on it, ignoring Fortitude. If Blade is the leader, he casts hit lists on 3 random targets that are not on it, ignoring Fortitude. Within the limits of his leader ability, a defender can only be put on the hit list if there are no other targets available. Casts a debuff, reducing healing effectiveness by 70% for 3 turns on all enemies. Casts 2 bans of debuff removal on all enemies. 1 ban is spent every time an enemy tries to remove a debuff from the target. Enemies who are on the hit list before this ability was used receive shock for 3 turns. The shock target cannot perform support attacks. At the start of the target's turn, they have a 50% chance of skipping it. If the target doesn't skip their turn, they receive a debuff that reduces damage by 75%. Awakening this debuff ignores Fortitude when cast. Enemies' healing is decreased by a higher percent. Enemies receive more debuff removal bans. Damage on the shock target is decreased by a higher percent. So we're going to go ahead and look at the animation of the ability. We'll take it down to a 1x speed. Let's attack the old Siri here. And yeah, so we should be seeing a lot of hit list. Should be seeing a lot. All right, so he burns a scroll. We get 3 hit list targets. It's huge. Hit lists on 3 targets is massive for the assassins. Before Blade, how it worked would be that the hit list would be applied to 1 target, and when you attack another target with a basic from certain characters, it would move the hit list to that target and remove it from the previous target. Now, it's very, very hard to work around because the assassins do more to the target on the hit list. So if it was applied to a target you weren't wanting to attack, you were not getting the most out of your abilities. So for example, if we go to Ash, we look at one of his abilities. If the target is on the hit list, Ash attacks them twice, so you get more damage out of this. I'm pretty sure this one gives guaranteed each hit is critical damage. So yeah, you see, this is a lot more damage out of these two abilities than what it would be if it wasn't a hit list target. So having Blade being able to cast this on 3 targets is massive. It gives you much more options on how you work the assassins. It gives you a lot more, I guess, paths you can take if you want to attack, you know, the rogue or the healer or the range damager. Of course, it's bypassing taunts as well. You can attack these targets through taunt. You should be able to attack them through invisibility or stealth or whatever you want to call it as well. So it's definitely, that one ability is opening up the assassins for a lot more options in who you attack. Blade's third ability is Shadow of Death. Performs a merely physical attack on all enemies. Casts delayed death on all enemies on the hit list for 3 turns. If the target's HP drops below 30% while the effect is active, all buffs are instantly removed from the target and they die. Enemies that have less than 35% HP at the time of the attack have all buffs removed and die. Awakening this, damage is increased by 50%. Debuffs ignore fortitude when cast. This is an insane ability. So let's go ahead and just look at the animation before we discuss it. So we're just going to go ahead and use it. Let's have a look. So he pulls out his blade, he dashes across, and bang. So we have had executes in the game before. There are several characters that can execute. We've got Captain John, for example. Impus can execute. Seven Knives can execute. But we've never had a character who can apply a debuff version of an execute where he doesn't need to execute them on the spot. They don't need to be 35% HP and below when he performs the attack. Sure, if they are, he executes them. But if they're not, too bad. He gets the debuff on them, and that's it. They have 3 turns to survive without dropping below 35% HP, or they die. It's as simple as that. It is an insanely strong debuff. Now, when you also consider the fact that he can protect the debuffs he applies to the enemy for 2 removals, it's almost... I don't know too many characters that have constant debuff removal that could bypass this. You have characters in the game who can remove debuffs, sure, but to constantly... I think the only character that pops up in my mind is Dracona. And maybe Beastman. I think Beastman can as well. But yeah, back in the day where, I mean, every time they got a turn, they would remove debuffs. So, I mean, it's constantly happening. I don't know any characters lately that are able to do that. So, as you can see here, Ciri, Impus, and Skara all have the debuff. Delayed death. If the target's HP drops below a certain percent, all debuffs are instantly removed from the target and they die. So, 3 turns. That's... wow. Wow. That's absolutely terrifying. I would definitely suggest this as a priority for his awakening as well. Just for the fact that when awakened, it applies the debuffs ignore the fortitude. So you're applying them. Fortitude has no effect. So, yeah, very powerful ability. Up next, we have Blade's leadership ability, Guild Leader. They can be 3 enemies on the hit list simultaneously. That's the biggest part of his kit. The fact that you can have 3 hit list targets is huge. Every time enemies on the hit list receive damage, except for dot effects, the initiative of all allied assassins, except the defender, increases by 10%. Hit list effects of allied assassins can stack, ignoring any blocks, and can only be replaced by another hit list effect. Allied rogues and assassins deal 50% more damage to targets on the hit list. That's crazy. And allied rogues and assassins receive 40% less damage from enemies on the hit list. The awakening in clan battles. So, clan battles, I'm pretty sure it's Clan Wars. It is official. I mean, it's coming to the game. I haven't done any videos discussing it, going over it. I personally saw a draft of Clan Wars months ago, so it could have completely changed from what it is now. The version being released into the game, I've got no idea what we're to expect. So, but the fact that they're throwing this into heroes already is crazy. In clan battles, allied rogues and assassins take 70% less damage from enemies on the hit list. When a target on the hit list dies, there is a 20% chance per allied rogue or assassin to immediately cast hit list on a random enemy. So the hit list target never going away. You're not getting rid of hit list. Apologies. So, oh, Blade. I mean, all right, let's look at some of the more important things in here. I mean, the 3 simultaneous hit list is huge. But I think the 10% initiative every time an enemy on the hit list receives damage. Yeah, that's huge. That's really important for characters like Captain John, who get a lot of healing out from just having their turn come around. I'm pretty sure how Captain John works off the top of my head is every time an ally is damaged, he receives a stack of something offering. So many offerings in the game now, and you know, when his turn comes around, he heals depending on how many stacks. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. You know, there's over 120 characters in the game. It's quite hard to remember every hero and everyone's skill, so I always just like to say what I think it is, and if I'm right, I mean, that just looks better on myself. So yeah, characters like Captain John will get benefits from having their turn come around much quicker, apart from the obvious fact that they get to cast their abilities quicker when they have inbuilt parts of their skills where they just get benefit from their turn coming around. That's gonna, yeah, benefit them a huge amount. I'm glad it does not happen to Yuki, because Yuki, you do not want her turn coming around at all. You want her to have her parry up for as long as possible, because with Yuki on the team, she reduces the damage assassins have by, I think it's 70% as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of damage reduction. Just from this, thinking of how you would counter this team, the idea would be you would still have to try and eliminate Yuki first. So having a character that can remove the parry off Yuki and getting rid of her, getting rid of that initial damage reduction, I think that's the first step, especially since they've got no Resurrect on their team, taking out the Yuki. And then I would say Blade, potentially. You don't want to aim Captain John first, because he has inbuilt skills as well that prevent him or benefit him from being killed before other characters. Yeah, it's a very... they've gained a lot of strength through this one hero. And we still have to go over his passive, so let's get into it. Moving on to Blade's passive, we have Legendary Assassin. Blade selects his attack target, ignoring provocation, stealth, mockery, and other ways of hiding from attacks. If an allied assassin kills hit list target, the target cannot be revived until the end of the battle. Only triggers once every 6 turns. That's very interesting wording for that. We'll go over that because I'm honestly very confused. I haven't asked Playcode about it. I will, but it's very interesting wording. When a target on the hit list dies, another enemy on the hit list receives damage equal to 75% of Blade's basic damage. The Blade's initiative increases by 33%. For every debuff on allied rogues and assassins, Blade's chance of dealing critical damage is increased by 10% and damage itself by 15%. Every time an allied rogue or assassin dies, Blade's ability cooldown is reduced by 2. The Awakening, when Blade dies, all enemies on the hit list receive the delayed death effect for 2 turns. If the target's HP drops below the percent, they instantly remove all their buffs and die. So the Awakening for this is a safety net. You want to punish people for targeting Blade, and it would punish them because Blade would be a primary target when attacking the assassins. You got Yuki and Blade, who both add insane damage mitigation to the team. You need to take care of them. It's as simple as that. So it's almost a punishment for having the enemy targeting Blade. The only part of the ability that's really confusing is the second dot point. If an allied assassin kills a hitless target, the target cannot be revived until the end of the battle. Very weird wording. Very weird wording, because there are no situations in the game where I can see this being effective. It's essentially a can't be resurrected, but they've added additional words to it. The only areas of the game where you verse waves of enemies are raids, and again, it would make no sense killing a target in one wave, moving on to the second wave. That target in the first wave can't be resurrected regardless. So it's just, I don't understand why they've worded it like this. The only thing I can think of is it's in anticipation for future content. But again, even then, I just cannot understand. I can't understand how this works. I will ask Playcott if you are understanding it differently to how I am, or if I'm just not explaining it properly. Leave a comment, let me know, because I am baffled. It should just, in my mind, say a target can't be resurrected if they're on the hit list. If they executed on the hit list, they can't be resurrected. Full stop. Until the end of the battle part is the weird part, and that only happens every 6 turns. Anyway, he is a menace, absolute menace. We're going to jump into a battle against the Guardians of Order, and we'll see how they operate. Okay, jumping into battle, we're going up against the Chaos Spawn. So, let's get to work. Let's see how they perform. Now, this is in a PvP setting because the Chaos Spawn are the PvP gods. So, let's go ahead. Let's get some healing out on the team. Yuki is going to get her parry out. And now we are going to be able to use our intoxication. Beautiful. Get some mind control out there. We got a fair few debuffs on us. And woohoo! See a Sid? Sid who? Can we kill a Ked here? This ability does a lot of damage. Let's see. Bang, bang. Oh no, Ghoul is absorbing some of it. Okay. That's fine. It's still quite low. We might lose the... Oh, no, we don't. Of course, mind control. Let's get rid of a Luxuria. Next, we lose one of our characters. That's fine. Oh, he's below Seagull. Now, you're probably looking at this battle and thinking, oh my god. Oh my god. The assassins are ridiculously strong. Now, what I love about the assassins is even though they seem ridiculously strong, we can go ahead and just win this. We can go, there we go. Though they seem ridiculously strong, I honestly consider them an extremely balanced faction. Now, why do you say extremely balanced when we just saw them absolutely decimate the #1 arena team that's fully maxed out? They're extremely balanced because they have one severe weakness, and that is their Yuki. Yuki is almost the pivotal point for the team. If you can eliminate the Yuki, the team loses such significant amount of their strength. And Yuki is not invincible. She is very squishy. So find a faction, and I'm going to tell you right now, there are definitely factions out there. One of them is the Goo faction, who can eliminate Yuki very, very quickly. So that is why I consider them probably one... There's 2 factions in the game that I absolutely salute Playcott in creating. #1 is I think probably one of the best factions in the game today, and that is the Witches. I think they are beautiful. I almost want to do a whole video on why I think they're the perfect faction. The second one is the Assassins. I think that they are super strong. They're versatile. You can use them in all content, and they have obvious strengths and weaknesses. The Goos, for example, don't have the ability. The AI is incapable, at the very least, of pinpointing and targeting that Yuki. So, yeah, but if you go up against a faction that can remove the Yuki ASAP, then you will find that the team isn't as strong as it appears on screen. So, yeah, that's my honest opinion about the faction. It is my second favorite faction, second to the Witches, in terms of just the way the factions are designed. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I will answer it to the best of my ability wherever you're on the world. Until next time, please take care of yourself.